Here is another poem by Linda Paston. She wrote Ethics, which we looked at earlier. The poem starts out straightforwardly enough, talking about time, distance, rate, math problems. I used to solve equations easily. If train A left Sioux Falls at 9 o'clock, traveling at a fixed rate, I knew when it would meet train B. Well, there's no problem here. We all learned the equation in school. D equals RT. We all did a lot of those problems in our Algebra 1 classes in high school. This poem is a little different from most in that the sauce begins to thicken quickly in line 6. Now I wonder if the trains will crash, or else I picture naked limbs through Pullman windows, each a small vignette of longing. All of a sudden, the speaker is not thinking about the mathematical problem anymore, but imagining real-life trains. There are two separate images here. What if the trains were on the same track and crashed? That's one image. The second image starts in the second line of the stanza. Or else I picture naked limbs through Pullman windows, each a small vignette of longing. The reference to Pullman windows might be confusing to you. A Pullman car is a train that carries passengers. Here's a picture of a couple. The Pullman Company is an old company that dates back to the beginning of the 20th century. Usually when we think of Pullman cars, we think of older trains. Picture one of these Pullman cars with the windows down, on a hot day perhaps, with passengers sitting by the windows, with their arms perhaps bent at the elbows, dangling out the windows, like we do when riding in a car in the summertime with the windows down. The arms are naked limbs because the passengers are wearing short-sleeved or sleeveless shirts and tops. Each of these imagined passengers is a small vignette of longing. A vignette is a brief image or description, not a full-blown story, but just a little brief image that implies a situation or a circumstance. So these images of people in the Pullman cars with the arms out their windows are vignettes of longing or yearning. They're going somewhere, presumably to meet someone or accomplish something. And I knew X, or thought I did, shuttled it back and forth like a poor goat across equal sign. X was the unknown on a motorbike. Those autumn days when leaves flew past the color of pencil shavings. And I like that line, the color of pencil shavings, because the poem started with mathematical problems, which are often associated with pencils and work like that. So it ties everything together. Obedient as a genie, it gave me answers to what I thought were questions. At the beginning, the speaker thought she knew X. It was simply the unknown in an equation. You moved it from one side to the other, whatever you needed to do to solve the problem. Note the amusing simile. Shuttled it back and forth like a poor goat across equal sign. But note that the sauce thickens just a little with the image which starts the second sentence. X was the unknown on a motorbike. Those autumn days when leaves flew past the color of pencil shavings. So the speaker associates an unknown with driving down the road on a fall day with the leaves flying past. It's an unknown because maybe there's no particular destination, just a ride down the road to wherever the road takes you. But as far as math goes, X is as obedient as a genie, giving the speaker answers to what she thought were questions. Well, you know about genies in the old children's stories. Your wish is my command, that sort of thing. Genies, which pop out of magic lanterns, are always helpful. They never keep secrets. I also like that phrase, answers to what I thought were questions. The questions we answer in math problems aren't really questions. They're artificial because, if nothing else, neither trains nor anything else ever moves at a constant rate like they do in math problems. Unsolved equations later, and winter now, I know X better than I did. His is the scarecrow's bitter mouth sewn shut in cross-stitch, the footprint of a weasel on snow. X is the unknown assailant. X marks the spot towards which we speed like trains at a fixed rate. The sauce thickens more in the last stanza. Time has passed. We talked about universal symbols earlier. The reference to winter implies the end of life. Now that the speaker is at the end of life, she knows X better than she did. She knows that unknowns are deeper and more profound than mathematical equations. His is the scarecrow's bitter mouth sewn shut in cross-stitch. Well, that's kind of a disturbing image. A scarecrow can have ominous connotations, and then the word bitter contributes to the ominousness of the image. The bitter mouth is sewn shut in cross-stitch. Well, it's not that this image has a specific meaning, but it does carry with it suggestions of inability to speak, which has resulted in bitterness. When people are filled with bitterness and keep it bottled up inside them, unable to give expression to how they feel, it results in a great and deep unknown. And then we have another image, the footprint of a weasel on snow. A weasel is a slippery little creature with tiny feet, and their footprints, even in snow, are hard to track, are easily obscured by wind and debris. Then a third image. X is the unknown assailant. Note that these are metaphors, and then we conclude with a metaphor that links the end of the poem with the beginning. X marks the spot towards which we speed like trains at a fixed rate. Well, what is that spot? We don't know. It's an unknown. Our lives, our journeys towards spots we don't know about yet. So what's this poem about? It's about life's unknowns. The central image is X. It is a tangible thing. We can write it. We can see it on the page in algebra problems. And the X symbolizes all of life's unknowns. The paths we start down with unknown destinations. The feelings we have that we don't understand. The threats and dangers that we face that we don't even know are there. Those are the unknowns that X symbolizes. So, what's the subject? I think the subject is simply life's unknowns. And what's the theme? I think it might be best phrased like this. The older we get, the more we live, the more we understand how deep and mysterious life's unknowns really are.